Guys, this actually was a lesson that we did back in the 4th grade, but after reading your plans for your essays yesterday, I realized that we probably need to review this again as a class just to make sure that we're on the right page, okay? It is really important when you are planning your essay to make sure that the main ideas you're choosing and the way that you're wording them are parallel. I want you to think about train tracks, okay? Train tracks, they're parallel. They look exactly the same, but they stay the same distance apart, okay? If you think about math and you think about intersecting lines, okay, you might think about main ideas that overlap, okay? If you think about diverging lines, you might be thinking about main ideas that don't match each other. They're going in different directions, you know? Thinking about math again, a curvy line or a straight line, okay? They don't seem to match, all right? So let's take a look at a few examples. These are actually from a 4th grade essay, but they illustrate what I'm talking about, okay? So I'm going to look at this first set right here. Volcanoes affect people's lives in many ways. That's the thesis statement, all right? And then the 3 main ideas. Volcanoes affect people's lives in positive ways. Volcanoes affect people's lives in negative ways. Volcanoes in Hawaii affect people's lives. Okay, so when I'm looking at these, I can say these main ideas are not parallel, okay? These two are. Okay, because they're worded in a similar way, but the items that they're going to talk about are related. Okay, they belong in the same category. But when we look at this last one, volcanoes in Hawaii affect people's lives. Okay, can you see how that is so different from the first two? That it doesn't really belong there. All right. It's going to create a disjointed feeling to the essay if you're going along and you're talking about the positive ways and the negative ways, and then you get to that. Okay? You have a puzzled look on your face, Kevin. Do you not understand what I'm talking about?
No, I understand.
Okay. Do you have a question?
No.
All right. All right, so first of all, it's never a good thing to go and do a main idea that's only going to have 2 choices, okay? You don't want to think about approaching it in a different way, all right? Now, if the text set talked about volcanoes in Hawaii and volcanoes in the Philippines and volcanoes in Greece, okay, then you could make these parallel by talking about volcanoes in Hawaii affect people's lives. Volcanoes in the Philippines affect people's lives. Volcanoes in Greece affect people's lives. Okay? So that would make it more parallel. All right, let's take a look at the next one. There are many ways that volcanoes affect the lives of people. All right? First main idea, there are many volcanoes in Hawaii. There are volcanoes in the Philippines. There are different types of volcanoes. Okay, turn to talk with a partner. What is wrong with these main ideas? Y'all just jumped into the discussion. So Kartik, tell me what's wrong.
They don't go with the thesis statement.
There are many ways that volcanoes affect the lives of people. Okay. Tell me why they don't go along with the thesis statement.
Because, like the first one, there are many volcanoes in Hawaii. It's just saying that there's many volcanoes in Hawaii. They're not saying that they affect people's lives in some sort of way.
Right, so the main idea itself doesn't even apply to the thesis, okay? All right, so let's just assume, okay, that the thesis statement was different. Are you noticing anything about the main ideas here? Are you noticing anything? Jackson.
That the third one is non-parallel to the other two.
Right, so if you were just looking at the main ideas, all right, regardless of the fact that none of them support the thesis statement, right? But you look at them, these two seem more like they're parallel, and this one is not, right? Can you see how it shifts? All right, let's look at another one. People's lives are affected by erupting volcanoes. Volcanoes destroy houses. Volcanoes destroy stores. Volcanoes destroy trees. Okay, what do you think, Madeline?
So, number 3, when it says volcanoes destroy trees, that is much less important than the other two, and it's kind of affecting wildlife more than people.
Okay, so you're saying that these two affect people, but this affects wildlife? Okay, well, someone could argue, though, that trees are important for people because trees produce oxygen,
Yes.
right? So someone might disagree with you. Okay, Kartik?
So I think for some reason the thesis actually looks like a main idea, and then the 3 main ideas are actually detailed.
Okay, well, I would agree with you that actually this is actually a good thesis statement. Okay, because it's about people's lives being affected by volcanoes. Okay, but I agree with you when you're talking about those being kind of details. Okay, Allie?
They seem very repetitive.
They are very repetitive. It's not extremely varied. I think that, remember in 4th grade, we were just kind of trying to stay basic, and we were not worrying so much about varying it as we were worried about focusing on the structure. But we know in 5th grade we do want to vary it because we don't want it to be extremely repetitive. We want it to be more creative. Now, would you say, though, that even though these are details, these are very narrow details, they seem to be more parallel than the other examples, definitely, okay? And I would agree, probably you would not have enough information to do quality body paragraphs, okay? If you kept it to this, all right? Obviously, when you think about people's lives, you want to think bigger, like your daily routines, okay? Or maybe your schedule, or shopping, all right? Routes, where you're going to drive, okay? The fact that maybe you might have to evacuate at a moment's notice, okay, because of a volcano. All right, let's look at this one right here. Volcanoes cause injuries to people, okay? Lava is 2,100 degrees Fahrenheit and will burn up anything in its path. Erupting volcanoes release toxic gases that can cause breathing problems. Some eruptions can result in rocks falling from the sky and on people's heads. Okay, what are you noticing, Evan?
The thesis is more of a main idea, and the main ideas are more like details.
Right, so this doesn't even go with what the thesis was supposed to be. How you were supposed to explain how volcanoes affect people's lives. This is one of the way it affects it, right? Is it causes injury, and then these are details, okay? These are details to support that. Anybody notice something else, Alana?
Well, first of all, I did when we were reading it, I thought we were talking about a main idea, but they don't really go together very well because first of all you have like really really hot, and then you have like the toxic, and then you have rocks pretty much. Those don't.
Well, these two right here definitely are attached to causing injuries to people, right?
But
Right.
it really doesn't specify like.
Right, the first one, right, and the first one doesn't really go with injuries to people never necessarily, okay?
It goes to like buildings.
Right, buildings and trees and roads, because lava does not flow very quickly. Okay, so usually in most cases, although there are exceptions, people evacuate and are very cautious when there's an erupting volcano. All right, so what I want to do next, though, is I want to talk about the essay that we're working on. Yesterday, when I looked through your plans, I noticed that there were quite a lot of you who were having issues with how to write your main ideas for your essay on light pollution. Okay, so what I did was I went through and I pulled out some of the main ideas that I thought were good, and I just wrote them on this whiteboard. All right, so what I want you to do with your partner is I want you to think about which of these main ideas you would choose for your essay. Okay, so turn and talk with your partner. Which three of those would you choose to talk about with your Okay. All right, so let's think about these main ideas. Jordan, which three did you and Elijah decide would be good main ideas that would be parallel?
He said light pollution harms birds and light pollution disrupts sea turtle migration. And how can we reduce light pollution?
Okay, so you think that light pollution harms birds, light pollution disrupts sea turtle migration, and what was the third one? How can we reduce light pollution? All right, so this one, and this one. Okay. You just sit down and those of you who are sitting here, I want you to think about those. So if we do this one, and this one, okay? Does anybody see a problem with that? Allie, what do you think?
Question. The last one doesn't really deal with the other two.
Okay, so we can see that light pollution harms birds and light pollution disrupts sea turtle migration. Those are two that seem to go together. They seem to be parallel. But how can we reduce light pollution is not parallel to these two. Can you see that? All right, so when we think about those choices, not necessarily good. All right, give me another set of three. Madeline?
I would say light pollution harms birds, light pollution disrupts sea turtle migration, and light pollution exceeding the night sky.
Okay, so when we look at these three, the way that they're written, we can see that those are parallel, right? They're all talking about how light pollution is a problem. Correct?
Yes.
All right? So, light pollution harms birds, light pollution disrupts sea turtle migration, light pollution affects viewing the night sky. Okay? What do you think, Alana?
The 3 questions.
3 questions would go together. Okay. So what causes light pollution? Why is light pollution a problem? How can we reduce light pollution? Would you keep them in that order? Okay, so I want you to think logically, because remember, the focus of your essay is to teach somebody else about light pollution. Okay? So there should be a specific order in which you put them in. Okay, what logical order?
I would probably do why is light pollution a problem? What is it, or what causes light pollution, and then how can we reduce light pollution?
Okay, now as a person, if you anticipate that your reader knows nothing about a topic, what's the first thing you probably should do?
What the problem is with it?
I don't know that I would agree with that. What do you think, Clayton?
You would tell them what it is.
Okay, So maybe, what is light pollution? What do you think about that, Elena? Would that seem to go first then?
Yeah.
Okay, so if we say what is light pollution, and we might include, because when you're explaining light pollution, right, what it is, you're going to get into the causes, right? All right, so once you explain to your reader what light pollution is, what would you do next?
Why
Jackson?
is light pollution a problem?
Why is light pollution a problem? Right? Because it wouldn't make sense to say what is light pollution and then how can we reduce it and then say it's a problem, right? You want your reader to know it's a problem. We probably need to do something about this, okay? So then you would go ahead and talk about how it's reduced, all right? All right, let's go back and look at the first three that we looked at, okay? And let's talk about these three. How would you order these three? I want you to think about what you learned last year in 4th grade. When we talked about how do you put, or how do you determine the order in which you're going to talk about your main ideas. Madeline?
So, the weak ones go first, and then the one that has the most evidence would be going last.
Right, so you're going to start with the ones that seem to have the least amount of evidence, okay? And then move to the ones that have the most. So thinking about your text set, which of these three main ideas did not have a lot of details? Elena?
The bird.
The birds, okay? So we can say we would start with the birds, all right? And then thinking about the sea turtles and the night sky, what would you do?
The night sky.
You think the night sky? Thumbs up if you agree, you disagree? Okay. What do you think, Emma?
I think we should go sea turtle.
Think you should go sea turtle? Thumbs up if you agree. Okay. I guess my thing would be, Muboni, is that you would look and see what you had for evidence. Okay.
I said night sky because the sea turtle had a whole source about it.
It did. It did had a whole source about it, and it talked about it in another source. Okay. But so did the night sky. The night sky had two as well. So I would say that it seems like they both have an equal amount. So then that would be up to you as to which one you would do. Okay? So you could do, but you want to end strong. Now here's the problem with that, guys. Some of you have time management issues. And remember that I taught you that when your 10 minutes is called, you get yourself to your conclusion as quickly as you can. So you have a big risk here when you're starting out with the weaker main idea, weaker supported main ideas, if you don't get to that third body paragraph. So you need to make sure that you're managing your time well. That means that you're using the shortcuts that I taught you. That means that you're staying focused the entire time and working the entire time. That means that you're pacing yourself, okay? So if you have not started writing that essay by the time we go to that first break, or the break that we have after an hour, if you haven't started writing your essay, you need to start writing it immediately when you come back from that break, regardless of where you are at. That's why we need to practice reading and planning, because a lot of you are getting bogged down. You don't read quickly, you don't synthesize information quickly, you can't plan quickly. All right, so we need to maximize that amount of time. All right, you'll be getting back your plans. I have written feedback on everybody's plan, and that will guide you into any revisions that you need to do in your plan. All right, go ahead back to your seats.